Hello and welcome to another edition of Gardening with Jason. Today is a cold, windy day. It was very wet this morning and we're down at the allotment. Now we're not digging today. I don't like digging in cold weather because it damages the microorganisms and the worms in the soil. The worms get very upset when you expose them to the cold air. So we're not doing any of that. I think you could probably hear the wind blowing around me at the moment. So we're going to come into the greenhouse and we're going to do some work in here. We're out of the wind, we're kind of out of the weather, and whilst it's chilly, it's not too bad. Got my nice thick coat on, so I'm quite warm enough out here. So what do you need to do at this time of year? Well, there's not a huge amount you can do at the allotment. The weather is generally against you. So if you've got a greenhouse or a polytunnel, now is a good time to go and sort it out and get ready for the growing season. Now I'm going to show you around the greenhouse. It's not big, it's only maybe 8 foot by 6. So it's a bit bijou, very snug, but I can still fit quite a lot in it. So we're going to talk about that and what you can do at the greenhouse. So firstly, weeds. You can see down here we've got some nettles growing and various other weeds, and if I just carefully take you over there, you can see more weeds growing around. So all these weeds are going to come up and they're going to be got rid of. I'm going to take out all these shelving. These shelves are old plastic greenhouses. As you can see, I've owned several, and they've been destroyed by the weather basically, or the plastic has just perished to a point where they're not really usable. So because I'd had them for a few years, I couldn't find new frames, so I've kept these as greenhouse staging, and it's actually really handy for putting seeds on. I've got all the racks over here, so I can get all my seeds in here and get them going. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to tidy up, get rid of all these old plants, put all the soil on the compost, and we're going to keep all the labels and the canes to use another time. They'll all be washed and tidied up. So that's one of the jobs we're going to do. We're going to tidy up all our pots, and then we've got our potato chitting egg boxes. We're just going to neaten it up, tidy it up, make sure everything's away, so that we can get going and get planting seeds. It's about the middle of January at the moment, so it's a bit early where I live to start seeds off outdoors in the greenhouse, in an unheated greenhouse I should say. So towards the end of the month I'll probably start some. I've got plastic propagators that I can use, and I'll bring them down here and put them in the greenhouse. Some of the sort of hardier plants will get started here. So that's one of the jobs that we're going to do. The other job that we need to do is we need to clean the greenhouse, because you can see, look, we've got moss forming. This greenhouse, by the way, I've inherited. It's been here for many years, and you can see there's moss forming between the panes and the frame. Now this can be removed using a penknife, another sharp sort of slim object. Alternatively, you could take the glass out. Taking the glass out is quite a job. It can be difficult to do, particularly if you're by yourself or if you've got a big greenhouse. So because this greenhouse isn't too big, I'm actually going to try and leave the glass in where I can, and then I'm going to just sort of scrape this out with my penknife. The other job we're going to do is we're going to clean all the planes. You can see if I come around this side obviously gets rained on more, but look at all the dirt and dust on that. And you can see here, if I come back a bit, you can see here I've sort of cleaned it a little on the inside with my finger, and it's absolutely filthy. You need your greenhouse to be nice and clean. The glass needs to be clean because it allows lots of lighting, which obviously your plants will benefit from. Whilst this sort of you may go, oh well, yeah, it's a bit of shading, it discourages the light from coming into your greenhouse, which you really don't want. So this all needs a good clean. What can you clean it with? A dilute sort of fairy liquid or either washing up liquid solution. There are specific greenhouse cleaners you can buy, and a lot of people will swear by something like Jay's fluid as a cleaner for this sort of thing. But find something that you can use and just give it a good clean. Just use a sort of soft cloth and be very careful. And you can see with this particular greenhouse, I'm going to have to actually take some of the panes off because there's an awful lot of dirt and what looks like algae growing in between some of the panes. The other job that you need to do is just sort of repair your greenhouse. Now this I inherited, and like most greenhouses that have been at an allotment for several years, you can see that there's sort of panes that are damaged. And if I come over here, you can see this pane isn't fitting very well. Whilst that's not a major problem, it does let cold air in, which can be harmful towards my seedlings. The other issue we've got is, if I just bring you back over here and swap hands, you can see this window doesn't shut properly. While that's nice in summer, the plants love it. Again, come seedling time, not so good. The plants don't like that. It lets the cold air in when I want them to be nice and warm. So again, repairs like that need to be done. And you can see in this greenhouse, whoever was here put up some wire mesh to grow plants up. So we're going to have a look at that and try fixing that up out the way. Sort of like, you can see it's quite a way away. So I want to try and fix it up like that, because frankly I'm fed up of walking into it. Otherwise I might get rid of it because I don't use it. They've also sort of got this wiring, this string in, sorry, which is used, they were using to grow tomatoes up. So they'd sort of hang string down and the tomatoes would be tied to it growing up. So that's one of the things to do. So then the main jobs for now in your greenhouse is to sort of tidy them up and just sort of clean them out and get them ready for the planting season. Like I said, there's not a massive amount you can do down at the allotment at this time of year. Getting outside and getting the greenhouse cleared and getting things prepared for planting, it means that come sort of March, April time, when it's time to start planting and you start busy getting things in the ground, you haven't got sort of your greenhouse weighing you down and you're worrying about trying to fit that in as well. Now that's basically what you need to do down in the greenhouse. I mean, if you get a chance, you can get outside and do stuff, but the greenhouse is a good place to start. Now, if you want to find out a bit more information about looking after your greenhouse, check out my book, Greenhouse Gardening. It's available in paperback, and now you can also get it in hardback. So there's 2 different versions of it available. Feel free to pick a copy up. It's available on Amazon and in all good bookstores, and it will go into a lot more detail about what you can do in your greenhouse and what you can grow. But now we're going to step out of the greenhouse. The sun's come out, it's warmed up slightly, so let's just show you some of the things that I've been doing around the plot. One of the things I've done is I've brought some of the raised beds down. So these are our pallet collars, and I've just sort of laid some of them out on the ground. These ones over here, I've just almost killed myself on the raspberry cane. These ones over here are in the right places. They're all, this is how they're going to be. Obviously the ground needs flattening there. I had them in the back of the car, so I had to kind of shove them on the ground fairly quickly. So you can see these are not level, but the ground will be leveled and they'll be put down. I've also got the plastic sheeting down under the paths, and you can see that I've started putting over here, you can see I've started putting down wood chip just to help sort of keep the weeds down and suppressed. I've got my double height ones here, here and here. These are going to be for carrots and parsnips, and I'm going to get some compost. I'm going to raid the compost heap and see what's in there and see how many of these beds I can fill. That one's got a mixture of, that one has a mixture of manure and compost in it and soil in it, so that one will probably be all right. But you can see I'm putting cardboard down, a couple of layers of cardboard, help suppress the weeds, and then on top of that I'm putting the manure. So I'm just hoping to try and make it as low maintenance as possible, because you know there's a lot to do with an allotment, and the more that you can sort of make it easy, the better for you. Now we've had a bit of a tidy up as well. Now some of you will remember this tree, and you remember this apple tree that I inherited. Let's just go around the side here, and you'll probably remember that it had huge water shoots going up in the air. It was really tall and unwieldy. I had a lovely crop out of it last year, but it was really difficult to pick some of the apples. So what I've done is I've given it a bit of a prune, and you can see a lot of the prunings are over there. So what I've done is I've shortened all the branches at the top to give it a bit more of a rounded shape, and then on the inside of it there's still a bit more to do down this end. This end I couldn't quite reach, so I didn't have my ladder with me, so I'm going to come down and these are going to get trimmed because there's a couple there that are a bit too tall. But what I've also done is there was lots of branches on the inside that were crossing and growing inwards, so you didn't have the right shape of the tree so that you could get the air circulating around nicely. So I've cut a load of the branches from the inside out that were just, you know, like for example up here you had lots of branches going just straight up. They weren't productive and they were just going to make the tree really congested, so I've cut loads of those out as well. But there's still more to go, and there's still branches that I keep finding up the tree where I've left them. But you can see, as I said, there's a little bit more work to do. It's a little bit congested under here, but it's not too bad compared to how it was. So to be fair, what I'm probably going to do with this tree now is leave it. I've pruned quite a bit off it. I don't want to do too much. I want to give it a chance to recover and produce fruit this year. This tree here, again, I pruned that earlier in the season. There's a couple of branches up there that need cutting. So what I'm going to do is when I bring my ladder down, I'm going to get up and just take the tops off that and just bring it down to about sort of that height there, really, because I think that's a decent height, and it's a bit too tall at the moment. Same with this tree. I have cut quite a lot out of this. This tree was growing in a really weird fashion. It was growing lots of branches right down to the ground, and it was growing into the greenhouse. So I've trimmed that back quite a lot as well. I haven't got up into the tree and started clearing the branches there. There's still lots of very crossing and congested branches, which is going to sort of could encourage fungal infections and so on. So again, that one I'm going to have to get up and I'm going to start taking the tops off all that and just bring it down a bit so that it's manageable. The problem is when you've got a fruit tree that's that tall and everything's so high up, it's really, really difficult for you to manage it because you cannot reach the fruit easily. You see, that one's not too bad, but that one is very, very hard to get up there for the fruit. This one wasn't too bad because I could clamber around the tree. So it was actually all right. It's big enough to support my weight. But even so, I just want to tidy it up because there's lots and lots of branches everywhere. And again, here we had branches coming down to close to ground level. And it was a headache because I kept walking into them and I had to prune it because sooner or later I was going to lose an eye. So what else have we done? This tree got good pruning. I can't prune it anymore till next summer after it's finished fruiting because it's a plum tree. It didn't do a lot this year, to be really honest. I didn't see any plums. However, got high hopes for it next year. But again, you can see some of the top branches. It needs sort of taking down to encourage it to bush out. So if I take down some of the top branches and encourage the growth here, it'll be more reachable. Again, the problem is you cannot reach the fruit in it. Now over here, this is what we were digging and planting before winter, and you can see, I can't remember which one's a garlic and onion now. I didn't label them, but it's fairly obvious when they start growing. But we got rows of garlic, and you can see, we come right down here, you can see it's starting to come up out of the ground. Some of it's elephant garlic and some of it is normal garlic, and there's loads and loads of onions. I've just about reached the stage where I'm running out of onions at home now. I think in the next couple of weeks I'm going to have to go to a shop and buy some, which is truly horrifying, but that's the way it is. And you can see here, see, this is elephant garlic. You can see the elephant garlic in the ground, but it's slightly raised because some lovely local squirrels like to come and look and have a nose and see what's going on. So just cover it over. When I tugged on it, I could feel some resistance. So it's rooted. It is rooted. But what I noticed with elephant garlic last year, was the first year I grew it, is it took a long time for the shoots to appear. But having just sort of had a quick tug on that just to push it back, it is rooting, so it is growing and it will send up some shoots soon. But you can see that's doing very, very nicely. And there's my green gage tree. It is alive, it is doing well. It's going to get moved. Poor thing. I'm not sure where I'm going to move it to yet, but I am going to move it because it's kind of in the way there. So it might get moved into that corner, but the soil down there is a bit rubbish. So the chances are it's going to get moved somewhere else. I might move it into this corner right over here, but then that could get in the way of this tree. But then if this tree doesn't produce anything in the next couple of years, it's dead. You know, unfortunately this tree, it's got a real problem in that the rootstock started to come through down there, and when I took the plot last year, there was real, you can see, awful lot of the rootstock coming up from the ground, and it's obviously on the, I think, quince rootstock, because it had wicked thorns, or maybe it was on blackthorn rootstock, but it had very, very wicked thorns, and it was quite dangerous. So yes, that's a problem. And this year as well, again, last year was a bit of a rush because I took over the plot and I wanted to get things in the ground. I had stuff arrive. I kind of, like you see here, the gooseberries have been chucked in the ground somewhere and gone, now that'll do. But these are all moving. I'm getting rid of a load of raspberry canes. I put some gooseberries over in the corner over there. I've got a space over there, I'm going to put one, and then I'm going to put some more sort of down along the fence over here. I finally got some wire, so I'm going to start training the blackberry bushes. I'm going to get the wires up and start those training, and hopefully that will really, really help them. But that's what's going on down here today, and I'll get cleaning the greenhouse now. Happy gardening to you, and let me know how you're getting on. If you've got any gardening questions, feel free to drop me a line.